Hello, welcome to Through Lucy's Lens weekly videos where I go somewhere interesting and hopefully you will find it interesting too. I'm sorry there's been a bit of a break. Life has been lifing, but I'm back and I'm making a pledge to you here to upload more regularly. However, I've got a real treat for you today. Those of you that have been with me from the beginning will remember the first time I showed you a secret dolls house collection. Well, the cat is out of the bag since then. The collection actually belongs to my very clever mum, Linda. Feels weird saying her name. And she has done some more work on this collection since 2 years ago now, when I filmed it for the first time with my shoddy little camera. And she said, could you come back? I've got a big birthday next year. I'm feeling proud of it. Could you show it off? First time she's ever said that, by the way. And I said, yeah, sure. So I'm going to show you the collection again. We're so proud of her. You know, so much work goes into this. Best hobby in the world for her. And she just wants people to see it, which I think is really lovely after years and years of keeping this a bit of a secret, really. So enjoy. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of dolls houses and dolls house collecting as you look around. If you prefer it to be quiet, by all means turn off my nattering and just enjoy the beautiful dolls houses, get inspiration, make up your own stories, because one of the loveliest things about these dolls houses is that you have the imagination to look around and come up with your own stories. I'm very, very proud of her. But my knees are killing me. To film these dolls houses, you're pretty much crawling around on all fours, but you know what? It's worth it. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. This collection of Dolls House is a labour of love of many years. The first Dolls House actually came along when my sister and I purchased Mum a kit and gave it to her as a gift one Christmas. It actually took her a while to get started, but once that house was started, it began a passionate hobby. All the dolls houses you're going to see have usually been rescued from auction sites in a bit of a sorry state. And Mum tries to pay as little as possible for the structure and prefers a doer-upper. Some of the houses have been made from scratch and others renovated, saved from the scrap heap, so to speak. Even the houses that have arrived in pretty good condition have been completely changed. And rather than just houses, it's also a collection of shops, businesses and institutions. The contents of the houses are crafted from scrap materials, second-hand dolls furniture, and even natural resources like beach glass, leaves, nuts and shells. The houses are inspired by real places, from memory like the Anderson Shelter, or living museums, National Trust homes, or just an imagination that loves historical interiors. Of course, some of the items are purchased, but she prefers to make everything from scratch where possible. The house where most things were original is the Lundy 1970s house, as she felt this should be a real reflection of the style that could only be achieved with the Lundy furniture. Enjoy the collection. I hope you agree it's rather special. And thank you, Mum, for letting us look around. When you think about dolls' houses, you might think about toys, miniature homes filled with tiny furniture, tiny people, and a world of make-believe. But in truth, dolls' houses to me have never been just about toys. They're historical documents in miniature, mirrors reflecting the domestic ideals, technologies, and social hierarchies and histories of their time. For centuries, these small houses have told us just as much about the adults who'd commissioned them as the children who played with them. They offer a unique perspective on changing ideas of home, gender, class, and family life. In this video, during the tour, we'll explore a short social history of dolls' houses, where they began, who made them, and what they tell us about how people lived, worked and imagined domestic life from the 16th century to today. The earliest known dolls' houses were never intended for play. The first examples appeared in Germany and the Netherlands in the mid-1500s. These were called baby houses, not because they were toys for babies, but from the German Puppenhaus, meaning house of dolls. One of the earliest surviving examples is the Nuremberg house, created around 1558 for a wealthy merchant's family. It wasn't a toy at all, but a teaching tool and a status symbol, showing a showcase of wealth, craftsmanship, and domestic virtue. In 17th century Holland, similar houses appeared, filled with exquisite furniture, silver and porcelain miniatures. Perhaps the most famous is Petronella Ortmann's house, now in the Rijksmuseum Amsterdam. It was completed between 1686 and 1710, and at the time it cost as much as an actual canal-side house in Amsterdam. Every detail from the embroidered bed linens to Delft tiles reflected the real domestic life of the Dutch elite. These baby houses were teaching models for daughters of the wealthy. They demonstrated ideal household management, order, and moral value. In an age before home economics or domestic science, these tiny rooms were visual textbooks of social order and cleanliness. By the 1700s, dolls' houses spread across Europe, particularly in Britain. They remained luxury objects, built by cabinet makers and filled with fine miniatures commissioned from silversmiths and upholsterers. The doll's house at Up Park, dating from the mid-18th century, both reflect the Georgian love of symmetry and social hierarchy. Each floor of this house mirrored a class structure, the grand rooms above and the servants' quarters below. This layout wasn't by any means accidental. It reflected and reinforced the social order of the time. A well-run household depended on hierarchy, service and propriety. Even in miniature, that hierarchy was carefully maintained within the doll's house. In Britain, dolls' houses became prized teaching tools for the upper class. They taught household management and the values of discipline and refinement. Lessons in social role, not always play. It wasn't until the 19th century that dolls' houses began to shift from adult display objects to children's playthings. Play and the concept of play has always, of course, existed in various forms, but its recognition as an important aspect of child development and a social right evolved over time, becoming a more formal concept in the late 19th and early 20th century. The Industrial Revolution also transformed both home life and toy production. Mass production, cheaper materials, and new manufacturing techniques in Germany, particularly in Nuremberg, meant that miniature furniture and dolls could be made for a growing middle class. By the 1850s and 1860s, British toy catalogues were advertising complete dolls' houses available to order by post. These were often made from a type of plywood with printed paper interiors imitating wallpaper and floor coverings. At the same time, real houses were changing. The Victorian home, with its separate rooms for sleeping, dining and sitting, became a powerful symbol of respectability. Dolls' houses reflected that ideal, shrinking the domestic dream into something a child could manage. For working class families, a doll's house might be improvised from a box or a chest of drawers. Handmade furniture fashioned from matchboxes or scraps of fabric showed how the domestic ideal was desired, even when it couldn't be achieved in real life. This is where Mom takes most inspiration, making beautiful things from what is available. That's the joy of doll's house ownership for me, and something that also resonates strongly with Mom. You can create your own domestic ideal, your own imagining of life in a different time, something that you could maybe never experience in your real life, but inside the doll's house, you're right there. The early 20th century saw a golden age for dolls' houses. After Queen Mary's doll's house was completed in 1924, it was presented at the British Empire exhibition, and then miniature homes became a national fascination. Queen Mary's house became a national symbol, a showcase of British craftsmanship and imperial pride. It had running water, electric lights, and even a working lift. Every room was perfectly to scale, filled with real art, tiny books written by contemporary authors, and household products donated by British firms. It represented an idealised and, of course, not always realistic vision of Britain itself, ordered, prosperous and stable after the upheavals of the First World War. Meanwhile, commercial toy companies like Triang and Lines Brothers began producing dolls' houses on an industrial scale. Their houses mirrored the latest suburban architecture: semi-detached villas, 1930s bay windows, electric cookers and radios. In this way, dolls' houses became social documents. They recorded what ordinary homes looked like, the furniture that people aspired to own. And aspired to is important to note. You may be able to furnish your own doll's home in a style totally unachievable in your reality. After the Second World War, austerity and modern design reshaped both real and miniature homes. The doll's house became smaller, simpler and more affordable. In the 1950s and 1960s, British firms like Triang, Spot On and Barton produced ready assembled plastic and wooden houses inspired by post-war architecture. These featured open-plan living rooms, pastel kitchens and modern furniture, a reflection of the optimism of the welfare state and a new emphasis on comfort and leisure. Women's roles were also changing during this time. The doll's house that was once a teaching tool for domestic duty now became a space of creativity, something to decorate, personalise and to make one's own. By the 1970s and 1980s, as feminism and nostalgia intersected dolls' houses, they gained a new life among adult collectors. What had once been a tool of instruction was now a way to explore heritage, memory, to craft and use your imagination. I think dolls' houses occupy a unique position between social history and art. Museums such as the Victorian and Albert Museum of Childhood, the Museum of Childhood in Edinburgh, and the Bethnal Green Museum preserve examples spanning 5 centuries of dolls' houses and dolls' house collectors. Contemporary makers and collectors such as my mum treat them as historical reconstructions, living archives of domestic life. Miniaturists strive for historical accuracy, recreating Georgian drawing rooms or 1950s kitchens with forensic attention to period detail. And for me, as a social historian, dolls' houses are invaluable artefacts. They reveal how people imagined their homes, what was desirable, respectable or modern in each period. From chamber pots to televisions, every object in miniature tells us something about identity, aspiration and belonging, and also the aspirations of the person creating the home. So when I stand before a doll's house, including this collection, whether it's a 17th century cabinet or a mid-century triangle, you're looking into the collective imagination of a society or the inside of a designer's mind. These miniature homes preserve what people thought life should look like, and I find that a very special thing indeed. Dolls' houses tell a story that stretches from merchant guilds to mass production, from women's domestic education to modern nostalgia. It's an artefact that can be art and anthropology. It can be personal, or it could be political. Through them we can trace 500 years of social change, not through battles or monarchs, but through kitchens, bedrooms and parlours no bigger than your hand. They allow you to time travel, see inside the homes of people all over the world. And perhaps to me what makes them so enduring is their history you can hold, play with, change should you wish. Regular viewers to the channel will know that I'm not in the business of talking for the sake of it. But I've still got quite a lot of these dolls' houses to show you. Now I don't usually put music on my channel, and some of you really appreciate that. But for the next 10 minutes I've chosen some lovely pre-1920s recordings for you to enjoy as you tour the rest of the dolls' houses. So relax, enjoy, and I'll see you again at the end.
Place, park, scene, dark, silvery moon is shining through the trees. Cast to me, you, sound of kisses floating on the breeze. Act one, big jargon, dialogue, where would you like to spoon my cue with you underneath the silvery moon? By the light of the silvery moon, I want to spoon. To my honey I'll croon love tune. Honeymoon, keep me shining into your silvery beams. Will bring love dreams. We'll be cuddling soon. By the silvery moon, by the silvery moon. Act 2, scene new, roses blooming all around the place. Cast 3, you, me, preacher with a solemn looking face. Choir sings, bell rings, preacher says you'll wait forevermore. Act 2, all through, every night the same encore. By the light of the silvery moon, I want to spoon. To my honey I'll croon love tune. Honeymoon, keep me shining into your silvery beams. Will bring love dreams. We'll be cuddling. We'll cuddle soon. By the silvery moon, by the silvery moon. The time 'tis of haying, two lovers are straying through sweet love land. Through lips with love meeting, through hearts with love beating, to beat the band. The boy has grown silent, the girl wonders why. He turns to the girl with a sigh, and soft he replies when she asks why he sighs. I am thinking, my dear, only thinking, my dear. If a girl like you loved a boy like me, like a girl like you could love, if she cared to care and he dared to dare, what a happy pair they'd be. If a girl like you loved a boy like me, and the girl like you was you, I tell you what, I'd give a whole lot if that boy was me. The time 'tis in June time, birds singing in June time, and June time brings each day a new wedding, and under this heading come drink and sing. A boy and a girl we have both met before are now coming from a church door. For the boy dared to dare, and the girl cared to care, when he whispered so low in the first verse, you know. If a girl like
And there you have it. I'm laid down like this because that is how I've had to film the majority of this video. So I will be going back to full-size houses soon. In fact, I have a week's leave from my job, my day job next week. So I'm off to London on Monday to explore the life of Charles Dickens, the Ragged School, the Museum of the Home. Where else am I going? An operating theatre. I'm on it. I've got to make the most of this time. So as always, thank you for your support. If you want to film dolls' houses, this is how you have to do it. That's one of the hardest videos I've ever filmed. So I hope it's going to be worth it. Something a little bit different, but something, of course, close to my heart and close to my family's heart, because a lot of the houses that you've seen are inspired by a lot of the museums that we visited throughout our lives and will continue to do so. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, do all that stuff that I don't like asking for you to do, because it helps. And until next week, I'm going to be kind to myself. Not next week, the week after. I'll see you then. Bye bye.